Welcome to the Registered Investment Advisor Podcast, where financial services marketing expert Seth Greene interviews experts, executives, and top producers to share can't-miss tips on how they successfully manage their financial service firms, grow their businesses, create great relationships, and influence the industry. And now, here's your host, Seth Greene.
Welcome to the RIA podcast. This is Seth Greene. Today, I've got the good fortune to be interviewing Jon Ekoniak from Bordeaux Wealth Advisors. Jon, thanks so much for joining us.
Seth, great to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
My pleasure. So let's go back in time a little bit. How did you get in the business in the first place?
I've always been kind of an investment guy. I really liked investments. That was my application to get into business school. After business school, I was an equity analyst. So I followed software stocks. I followed 16 stocks. I was a sell-side analyst, razor sharp focused on that industry. And that's really what first got me into it. I took a couple turns along the way. And frankly, if I knew this industry, the RIA industry existed, I would have joined a lot sooner. But like many others, I received a bunch of calls from brokers, investment guys. And I'm like, hey, that's what I did for a living. I don't need that help, but I would love to have financial guidance. They're like, oh, we don't do that. We'll help pick your stock portfolio. So never really participated in that area and just didn't think that, getting comprehensive and holistic advice from the financial side existed.
And then you didn't start your journey with Bordeaux Wealth Advisors. Tell us a little bit about your kind of evolution from where you started to getting to Bordeaux now.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, I was an equity analyst. And, after that, so I did that number of years. So, when a company like Oracle reported our Siebel systems in the day, CNBC would call me up and have me on, right? So that's the kind of focus that I had on these stocks. And then I ended up joining one of those companies. So I joined Oracle for 10 years. After being an analyst, wanted to see what it was like. Here I am, making these calls on these companies, but I wanted to see what it was like to really get my hands dirty. And so I did that, loved it. I had a good time. We acquired maybe 50 companies when I was at Oracle during that period. So lots of change, lots of excitement. But ultimately, I miss the financial services sector and wanted to get back into it. So ended up winding my way back over and finding Bordeaux.
And tell us a little bit about Bordeaux.
So we're based in Menlo Park. We have an office in Seattle as well. We have about 240 clients, manage over $4 billion in assets. So our average client is about 18 million in investable assets. And we really try to position ourselves more as a personal CFO for our clients. So we offer tax guidance and advice. And I don't mean tax loss harvesting. I mean real advice. We're actually building tax projections for every client. We have 8 CPAs on our team. And so that's the tax side. We're helping with estate planning and guidance as well. We have access to a couple of estate attorneys. And of course, investments are a big component. And, on the investment side, we're really focused on investments that the typical investor cannot get into on their own. So we have a big focus on alternatives, private equity, venture capital, institutional real estate, in addition to equities and fixed income. And I'd say one of the things that differentiates us as well is our client to employee ratio. So we have 8 clients per every employee. And according to the Schwab benchmarking study, the average for firms our size, about 25 clients per employee. So what does that mean? That means we can spend 3 times as much time and attention on every client. And, if you just do the math, and people, you hear a lot of the same verbiage being used with RIAs. Personal CFO and holistic guidance and advice. Well, it really comes down to, can they actually provide that? And we have the team to do it.
Who is an ideal client for Bordeaux?
So an ideal client is somebody who's really done well in their life. They generate most of their income through their work, and they realize that that's where their specialty is. They've got a great knack at it, and they want to offload the decision making on the financial side to somebody else. They don't want to spend the time trying to figure out what's the latest tax code, what are the latest investments, things like that. They really want somebody to be able to trust, and somebody that can really handle all of it. We work with a lot of executives from tech companies, as well as executives from more traditional companies.
How are you bringing those folks in the door?
Mostly through referrals. And so that's been our biggest growth engine over the years. And clients like us, and they tend to stick with us. And we love it when they recommend us to their friends and colleagues.
Absolutely. Now, you've been with the firm a long time, yet you also have an interesting history. I believe, if I read this right, you served in the Peace Corps in Albania.
I did. That's right.
Tell us a little bit about. You are the only person I've ever interviewed who has done that. So, what inspired you to do that? When did you do it? And tell us a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, so out of undergrad, I went to work for Anderson Consulting, which is now Accenture. I did that for 4 years, and I knew I was going to go to business school. And that was right around when the wall was coming down in Eastern Europe, and there was a lot of foreign capital going into that area. And my sense was the area was going to be forever changed. So I saw it as a great opportunity to take part in that and just experience it, but also contributing. So I was assigned to Albania. So we didn't get to pick the actual country. I was assigned to Albania, and it was a business development program. So there were 13 of us that were on the ground trying to help start, encourage, provide guidance to small businesses in the country, small and medium-sized businesses. And the European Union had this loan program. They were loaning money, and we were supposed to be the on the ground technical assistance. There was one problem with that: is the European Union, they started lending out money, and they did a really good job of it, but they did a horrible job of collecting that money. So by the time we got there, they said no more until this gets worked out. So we had to go and just basically figure out how to help local businesses on our own.
That is absolutely incredible. And I believe you met someone very significant to you during that time.
Yes. Wow. You did your research. I like it. Yes. My wife was also in the Peace Corps with me. And so.
Did you sign up for the Peace Corps together and you knew each other ahead of time, or did you meet in the Peace Corps?
We met in the Peace Corps.
And so you met a nice girl from California in Albania.
Yes, from Colorado in Albania, correct. But it's interesting. We went and we were staged in Chicago. So everyone was there stateside before we flew over to Albania. And they walked in the room, one of the administrators, and said, look around this room. 40% of you are going to marry each other or a host country national. And we looked around the room and said, no way. But it actually rang true for our group as well. So that was Peace Corps statistics that said that.
That's absolutely incredible. Now, Peace Corps, Piper Jaffray's tech analyst, working in the industry like at a company like Oracle, and then coming over to Bordeaux. What were some of the lessons you learned in that previous experience that have helped how you guide Bordeaux now?
Oh, I think it's tremendous. The background. So first of all, the Peace Corps, you might think, hey, what does that have to do with it, with what I'm doing today? Well, Peace Corps is about service. You're out there serving people. And I think if you don't have a passion for serving people, this is not the industry to be in, right? You really need to want to help people, to be a good RIA. So that's one. Two, a lot of the clients we serve are tech executives. And the fact that I have that background, I understand equity compensation, I understand deferred comp, I've been there, I know what the tech model is like. that helps a lot when I'm talking to them, right? Because I've gone through it, I've seen it, I've experienced it. And then as the analyst, as the equity analyst, you realize sometimes the lack of power you have in actually forecasting, where a stock is going to go. Remember, I focused on 15 stocks. That was it. And that was full time. And you have people today that are, really putting very little effort into understanding a stock, and it sounds good, but yet they might be plowing hundreds of thousands of dollars, sometimes millions of dollars they're holding of a single stock. And it just, makes me cringe and worry that, hey, this could turn south at any moment. And do you want X percentage of your net worth tied into a single stock? So understanding kind of how equity markets work also provides some really good insight, especially when we have people coming to us with concentrated positions in a single stock.
I'm sure. $4 billion under management. Are you managing you talked about, private equity alternatives, assets they can't get everywhere else. Are you managing those in-house? Do you use SMAs? How does your portfolio, actual investment team work?
Yeah, we're more like we prescribe to the endowment model. So we're asset allocators, and we believe determining the different asset allocations is the most important piece of generating returns. And then within that, our goal is to find the best managers for that. So the best private equity managers, the best institutional real estate managers. In terms of individual equities, we do not invest in individual equities. We index, and the market and numbers show that the index tends to beat active management a vast majority of the time over the long term. So we like the tax efficiency and the simplicity of it. And we look for the managers where there is a big difference between kind of call it index returns and active management returns.
Awesome. You've achieved so much success, not only for the firm, but obviously for your clients. What's your biggest challenge now?
The biggest challenge is always trying to be a little bit ahead of the game and understand where the markets are going. And I don't mean financial markets. I mean, what do clients want next? What else can we help them with? How can we make their lives easier? And so our goal is to take the financial burden off their back and really be the person that they have that they can rely on, who has a full picture of their net worth, and to be able to provide guidance on it. So trying to stay on top of that is, as you can imagine, pretty challenging. And we want to make sure that we continue to have the right team to be able to do that. So we continue to stress the importance of having CPAs and CFAs and CFPs on our team. We've got a number of those designations. Several of us have MBAs from top tier schools. So having the right talent is absolutely critical to making sure that we're serving our clients in the way that they expect. Our clients, as I mentioned, have been very successful in life, and they've surrounded themselves with high quality people that have helped them get there, and they don't expect anything less from us.
Your passion is obvious. What do you like best about what you're doing?
Just going back to, I'd say helping folks, being there for them. And I love solving problems. So people will come to us with, really interesting problems. So one of them, for example, said, look, we live in Silicon Valley. It's very expensive here. Our daughter can't afford it. And they're about to have their first child. And they want to move out of the area. How do we keep them here without giving them money?
Wow, that's not a question you get every day.
But that's the type of questions that our clients ask us, because we basically train them. We want to be there, to help address any sort of financial question they have. And yeah, that was a bit of a challenge, and took us a while to figure it out and structure something that was pretty agreeable to everybody, but yet enabled the parents to, not give their kids their daughter the money, but yet have them earn it, but yet be able to afford a place in Silicon Valley.
Wow. Well, we know your time is incredibly valuable, and we greatly appreciate you sharing some of it with us. For our folks who are watching and listening and want to learn more, where is the best place for us to send them to learn more about Bordeaux?
Yeah, the best place is go to our website, www.bordeauxadvisors.com. In Bordeaux, like the French Bordeaux. So
is that where the name came from?
Yes, and there's a quick story behind it. Bordeaux is known the world over as having, the best wine, right? For decades, centuries. And so they are the gold standard in winemaking. And likewise, we aspire to be the gold standard in the RIA industry.
Awesome. Well, we greatly appreciate your time. This has been Seth Greene here with Jon Ekoniak from Bordeaux Wealth Advisors. Jon, thanks again for joining us.
Great. Thank you, Seth.
Thanks, everybody, for watching or listening. We will talk to you or see you next time.
49 faces looked to him in triumph. Over the last 12 months, they had each taken turns and promoted his business for a week at a time, driving over $987,342 in revenue. What if you had a network of 50 centers of influence who promoted your business every week for a year? Grab your copy of the #1 Amazon best-selling book, The Ultimate Guide to Growing Your Business with a Podcast, at 33% off the Amazon price by going to ultimatepodcastbook.com. Again, that website for 33% off the Amazon price is ultimatepodcastbook.com.